Welcome to this edition of the Whole Roofing and Remodeling Podcast. Today, our special guest is our very own Adam Martin. Adam is usually the one behind the scenes here, dropping the podcast, all that kind of stuff. So kind of fun to have Adam on this side of the camera, let him talk about what he does here for the business, and just get to know him a little bit and just kind of talk about how the progressive, because we're going on 2 years that you've been with us here pretty soon here in the next few months.
Yep, sometime around November, end of November.
Okay.
Because Reagan's birthday was the first thing I did with y'all last year. But
yep.
I guess I wasn't official at
right.
that point,
Yep.
So.
That was the birthday party we had at Pizza King. Mike from SRS came down, bought everybody lunch. So yeah, that would have been the middle of November. So
yep.
Adam, tell us a little bit about yourself, your hobbies, kind of all that, what you enjoy to do and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm Adam Martin. I am the media director, is my official title Bob gave me here at Whole Roofing and Remodeling, which basically is just layman's terms for I manage our social media. I handle a lot of our marketing aspects digitally, whereas the other half of marketing, Bobby Ann, handles a lot of our in-person, relationship, marketing, that sort of thing. But beyond that, I was born in Greenfield. Grew up in Arlington, just a stone's throw from here. Live right here in Rushville. Love serving the community, that sort of thing. Very involved with my local church over at New Heights Christian Church in Connorsville. Lead worship out there, on the leadership team, all that sort of stuff. Very involved with the Saucer Tossers, which is the name of the the local disc golf group that gets together for league on Thursdays here in town. And basically that's all my free time other than being here and working. So
yeah. So, I mean, like I said, one thing, when you started, we just needed an extra set of hands, that was 2 years ago. And, thankfully you just jumped right in. There was days you were pulling dump trailers. Some days you were helping Jerry swing a hammer. And I'm like, Adam, I'm going to hand off some of this social media stuff to you. I want to use you for your videography, experience. And it was nice because you just got stuff done. And that's what a lot of people don't understand with small business is, at the beginning, you got to wear 17 hats. I'm still wearing 20 hats, so that was nice. But, now I was actually thinking this the other day. I hate titles. Everybody knows that. But you've kind of more rolled into a digital marketing guy for us, where you're helping with the website with a company that we hired out for that. You do a really good job with our Google stuff to keep all that stuff rolling forward. You worked on the roofing.com partnership. You worked on the Dave Ramsey endorsement partnership, all that kind of stuff. So it's been kind of fun for us to watch you grow, let you actually as a leader, the hardest thing is, getting the right people on the bus, but they got to be in the right seat to get the most out of them. And I know that, I always tease you. We were talking about back in the trailer the other day, and I tease you for that time that you cost me $800 in that Zionsville job. But
I felt so much worse if it was $1,800.
So, but it is what it is. You're willing to help. Things happen, but it is a lot of fun whenever we see you behind the camera because you enjoy it. Because every photographer, every videographer has to almost be annoying and in your face with a stupid thing. Where most of us are get away with that dumb thing, but that's how you capture that. So that's a unique talent that you have. But kind of talk about a little bit of the progressives, whatever, of what you've done, what you started doing for us, and kind of where you're at now, and then we'll talk a little bit just because we're not nowhere near being done with where we're going here. So
yeah, so like you said, when I started out, you hired me specifically. The joke my mom likes to make when she tells people what I do is that you hired me specifically because I knew how to back a trailer, which thanks to my dad for that, growing up with just a little bit of land, enough. And Dad still jokes to this. Well, I don't know that he would still hold to it because it's been a while since I've helped him, but Dad still held for the longest time that I actually backed trailers better than he did, because when we would be we had a small boat trailer we had converted, into a flat trailer, whatever, that we would back between these two I mean, they're maybe 6-inch trees, okay? But there's just enough space that there's about 6 inches on either side of the trailer if you hit right down the middle to back up to where we would like split wood come fall, everything. And consistently, with a little bit of guidance from Dad, I would back that thing straight up in. And this isn't with, we're spoiled with all the reversing cameras, and all that kind of stuff, because it makes it a whole lot easier nowadays. This was in a 1999 Dodge Dakota, black Dakota, that my dad no longer has. Just using the rear view and the side mirrors, and my dad back there screaming at me. But yeah, Mom jokes that I initially got the job with you guys just because I knew how to back the trailer, had experience with that. And I had learned from my dad and my grandpa and, all the other people in my life that, would teach me these sorts of things I was a little bit handy with, with at least a little bit of carpentry, a little bit of, this and that around, some of the remodeling stuff that we do. Not so much the roofing because, You're
the wrong colored skin for that, Adam.
Well, and I was going to say, most kids aren't up on a roof, but, then we get the pictures of, Rhett up there all the time. He's just, because he's basically your shadow.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
No, so, yeah, I was lucky to have learned a little bit of that, and with all the pulling trailers back in it, when I first got started working with Jerry, just absolutely learning so much more than I ever thought that, even went into all of this stuff. Everything from decks to interior. I've installed more doors than I could probably show on, on both hands with Jerry since everything from sliding doors, double pane, everything. And then, we're doing a little bit of the video stuff here and there, kind of getting stuff rolling. But I still remember it was like 3 or 4 months into, after I'd been working here with you, we kind of sat down and you had me take over the social media posting and everything too. So usually about, 1 day a week, whatever, 2 days a week, whatever it ended up being, I would, from my computer at home, I would start working on videos, whatever else. And granted, this was also in the tail end of all the COVID stuff. So, from home was the thing, at that point. And then about the time that, you started having the conversation with me about, hey, we really want to get away from the, having everybody away, what would it take for us to get you into the office? That's about the same time that I started taking on, doing a little bit less out in, working hands-on with everything and a little more, being in here and taking on 7 days a week on social media that's been running strong for over a year now. Keeping the YouTube updated as well as I can, anymore. And this podcast spawned directly out of that too, with literally just like, hey, what would it take for us to do this? And then just getting the stuff, putting it all together. And boom,
I said, we're doing 26 this year, Adam. If we don't get it done, it's your fault.
Yeah. Right.
So, and you've done well, and one thing that's nice is you had to go out and do the hard labor. Mm-hmm. So like you will appreciate that some because we've all worked in a place where there's guys that do the hard labor and then the office people. And like, you wonder like, man, I wonder if the office people really realize like what we're actually getting into, The other day I was demoing a ceiling with Dawson and I had 2 inches of freaking just nasty old 50, 60, 70-year-old insulation down my neck, all over my arms, and some days that's good for me to hop out there. So then Dawson remembers like, holy cow, like he does know how to do this, and like I said, though, it's important for our company to stick to our values and like who we really are, and it's also important. And some people don't understand the marketing aspect and all that kind of stuff, the value of the videos, the value of the podcast, so, it's been great because a lot of times, I always tease Emily that you work for me. And the other day you were doing stuff for her. And I was like, hey, would you leave my damn marketing department alone so we can get leads, and you were helping her out with something. And that's nice because you're Mr. Techie that I can mess with it for 3 hours. You can mess with it for 30 seconds and you've taken care of it, so that is fun. But for me as a leader, one thing that you said probably a year ago that meant a lot to me was like, well, you're the guy, Bob and Emily are the people that I knew 13 years ago or whenever we met out at Plum Creek when you were in, youth group, and me and Emily were help leading,
Seems like 13 years ago at this point.
Well, me and Emily's been married 12, so it really has been.
Has it?
Yes. Me and Emily's been together this winter will be 13 years.
What year did you guys move down to Tennessee?
The end of 16. The end of 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we started dating in December, got married the following summer. So like that winter that we first started dating is when we started helping, with the youth group. But that meant a lot to me that you're like, nope, you're who you've always been. I don't know if that's good or bad, but at least I'm consistent. That's one thing that I always say. I try to be consistent, So, but and it's also fun for me to have some homegrown talent on the team. For some reason, all of our sales guys seem to want to live in Shelbyville or be from Shelbyville, or the vast majority of them, which is fine. Like, I also enjoy attracting good talent from other communities. Got in trouble with one company because I hired a guy that worked for them, but he approached me, but like I said, it's a lot of fun, and it's also fun for me when we get you on the right seat of the bus and you excel at that, because it's funny because we literally, like the one day Emily's like, is Adam working? I was like, I think so. I said, it's 11:15. I haven't heard a peep out of him, but I said, I assume he's up there, working away on his stuff. And we've had this conversation. I'm like, Adam, I have to trust you that you have enough integrity that you're being productive, because I don't know what the hell you're doing half the time. And as long as it works, I don't have to know what you're doing. I don't want to micromanage, but another thing that you've done a really good job at, small business spotlights. You always enjoy them. I always get a ton of compliments from the people that you do the videos for, of like, oh my gosh, this is professional quality. And I always tell people that whenever we go to do the small business, like, this is for you guys. You can use it. I know one gentleman used it for a promotion video, run ads on YouTube for his business. He's like, dude, it's already creating leads for me. So, that's kind of cool. One thing I want to talk about a little bit about with you is, so everybody knows, a lot of people know the Revolt group that I've been a part of, Emily's a part of now for going on over 2 years. But here in the last 6 months or so, you've had the opportunity. William is their genius and their stud behind the camera for the Revolt stuff. But you've had a chance to go job shadow. One time you went down and did a retreat without William, and then back in April, you went to Texas with me, and you were at a members retreat, so you got to work, elbow to elbows with William on that, and and actually talks of having you help. There's actually potential they actually may have you help at RoofCon. I don't know if I've even said that to you until now, but me and William just had that conversation a couple weeks ago when I saw him. But that's a lot of fun for me, because I know the value that I get out of being part of that group. And William is one of the best in the country. Oh, yeah. So if you can rub elbows with him, like, it's worth that. And also you get to be around men that are striving to be the best who they are, that's another good thing, like the brotherhood of that group, the guys that care about each other, that kind of stuff. So talk a little bit about your experience with, shooting videos and whatnot for William, with William, and, some of the opportunities that you've gotten from working here. I mean, it's an honor for me to be able to take you down there. Hunter's always super appreciative, and William's always like, I'll always ask you first. I'm like, nah, I just go straight to Adam. Adam will tell me when he's going to be gone, so right. I'll let you chat a little bit about that.
Yeah. So first thing that we did was actually RoofCon last year, because when I went down to Gatlinburg was like February
probably
ish, or was it might have been March, because there wasn't any snow left on the ground at that point, so it might have been March. But yeah, just going to RoofCon last year, mid-November, early November, November last year when it happened, and seeing just the monumental effort that they put in, out there, and everything going on. I joked because, I had kind of bumped elbows with William a little bit up to that point. We kind of talked back and forth, and, had been figuring out, when we were doing stuff. But I swear I didn't see him directly the entire weekend at RoofCon because the dude was doing so much. And then like when he asked me to like go down to Gatlinburg and shoot for what they call the Revolt X retreats now, used to be the free retreats, whatever. Revolt X retreats now. That was a whole different experience too, because it was literally like, hey, would you take 3 to 4, whatever days out of everything, jump in a truck, drive down to Gatlinburg, and literally like be amongst a bunch of guys that you might have met like 2 of them before.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, and by the way, would you, video everything?
Yeah,
while you're doing
video
it,
absolutely everything.
Have everything, and I did chicken out a little bit, and I'll admit that, and I would be glad to tell William this directly. I chickened out with that one because I wasn't sure what I was getting into, and he gave me the out was the first thing. He was like, if you feel comfortable with it, you can start taking all the footage that you're getting right there, and you can like put some reels or a couple of little short videos together. And I was like, well, I just don't really know if I'll have the time, and I kind of want to sleep, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because William does not sleep at them events. But go ahead.
Doesn't. I fully chickened out, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just get a hard drive, and I'll load everything that I get on there, and I'll get it to you. We'll make sure that it gets to you afterwards, and then you guys can do what you want to do, put all your branding on it, all that kind of stuff. And like I said, full chicken out because I probably should have, which takes me to April, when William reached out again and was like, hey, we're doing this big members retreat down in Austin, Texas. And he said, I would like you to be one of a couple of guys who are coming in and joining me and shooting with me, so that we can cover so much of what's going on this week, and have all those different angles, have the guys deployed to do what he wants. And he said, specifically, I'm reaching out to you, not only because I know that you are like a decent shooter at least, which I'm not going to go any higher than that because I'm a decent shooter at least. But he said, because of your drone skills and because I know that you'll pack the drone down here, you'll come down. And then, when we're doing like the relay that we did down there, spanned the entire camp that you guys were staying at. I kid you not, I'm pretty sure even the like cross country runner, like 120 pound soaking wet guys that were there running around with everything were soaked in sweat by the time that you guys were done, because you guys had to have run like 2.5, 3, 4 miles minimum between all the different things. I believe it was around 4
miles.
Yeah. But like chasing everybody around with the drone and all that, like that experience was super cool because it pushed me in an entirely different way, because it was like, okay, we're going to spend all day gathering all this. You're going to have all of this content happening all day. And while we're doing that, while we're in breaks, whatever else, one of the things that William challenged me with was catching specific teams, specific members, and doing the interviews that you're all too familiar with Revolt now. And if you go onto Revolt's social media or, their YouTube or anything else, which I count YouTube as a social media side note. But if you go on and you watch any of the videos that Williams put out on their social media out there, 9 out of 10 of them are probably either one of their speakers talking from one of the events they've done, or the testimonials that have been done, or like a recap video that includes heavily on the speakers and the testimonials. And that is a very time-intensive process, because not only do you have to know what you're going to like ask, what you're going to, sit down with the person, and actually have a plan with what you're doing, but then you have to find the time with the person to sit down with them, pull them off to the side, in a place that's not going to look horrible and sound horrible, and pull them aside to do the interview. So that was an entirely different growth process for me, specifically because it made me have a turnaround. Whereas like, I'd get videos from you guys and it's just like, okay, I'll do something with this. Like with that, we shot everything during the day. And then when people started going to bed, we set up wherever we, well, it was in the main building because that was a place where we had, Wi-Fi. But, we set up and we were in there editing for as long as it took for us to finish, which I roomed with you for that retreat. And I'm pretty sure the earliest I ever got back into the room was like 12:30. Mm-hmm. And I felt really bad because I'm sure the first night, you told me the first night I woke you up, and I'm pretty sure the other 2 nights you at least turned over, like when I first came in. But no, like that alone was a huge growth thing for me, because it really challenged me to not only like find the story in what I'm shooting, but to like make my plan as I'm going. So I know like, ooh, I have this story already in development. I need to shoot this, and this so that I can get it and I can tell this story, and make this video out of it. On top of that, like one of our recent YouTube videos that kind of popped off had got almost 3,000 views the last time I checked it. It was at 2,800 and something. Was literally sent to me by Nick, one of our sales guys, and it was just a 6, almost 7 minute repair video that he had to film for one of our insurance claims, out there. And I looked at it, and I did what Nick asked me to do and sent it back to him. But I looked at it more, and I was like, this is actually a decent story, like a decent video to put up, because like, what's the main thing that people ask us, when they call in and they're like, I'm not really sure if my roof needs a repair or if it needs, a replacement, or, like what we're going to have to do with this. Like, especially with as many houses around here have as old of roofs as they have around here. Like, people seeing us being like, yes, your insurance may be telling you to repair it, but this is what we run into, more often than not, that like we go to repair it and we're going to do more damage to your roof. And I remember a conversation I was having with you. I'm pretty sure it was one of the times we were just driving around, like when I was riding between jobs with you, and you were like, yeah, we don't, if we can do the repair and it'll be all right, like we'll do it. But like more often than not, when you go to do the repair, you damage the shingles that are above that. And then you have to replace those shingles. And then when you replace those shingles, you damage those shingles. And, there's the chance that you're just going to take that, one shingle that needs repaired, and it's going to turn into an entire slope, by the time that we're done trying to repair everything. So, right. So when I saw that video that Nick sent to me, it was one of those like, oh, that's actually a really good story. Like, I can cut the pieces out of that and, answer this question that we get all the time from customers. Because one of the things I've kind of been thinking about here recently too is like, most people are like, well, marketing and sales, they're always fighting against each other, because, like marketing has to drum up the leads so that sales has enough to do. And,
and then sales guys suck, and then they don't close the damn deals that you generate.
Right.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
I mean, really, like, I don't see it as like we're fighting against each other. Honestly, like if I don't do my job, then sales doesn't have, the leads to run, which I mean is a reflection on me, on marketing. But at the same time, like you said, if marketing generates the leads, but sales doesn't sell the leads, that also reflects back on, on the marketing team as well. Cause it's like, okay, was it a quality lead,
right,
or was it just, a failure on the sales team? But really, like the way that relationship like interacts, and the more that I've seen it in the couple of years that I've been doing this now too, it's more like marketing is more like the generation,
well, so you said like, some people look at marketing and sales as fighting against each other. And I say this every meeting we have, guys, we're a circle here. Production, sales, marketing. Like if marketing does their job, sales does their job, production does their job, then it continues. Yeah. It's just a circle, and that's what helps us grow. Like, Emily and I have been interviewing a gentleman to come in and do more of the operations, let her step away from that more. And, I was talking to him last night actually, and he's like, he goes, he understands the importance. He's in a total different field right now, but he understands the importance of taking care of the current customer, because it's so much easier to get the neighbor to come and call you. Yeah. Or, we literally had a lead come in today. It was a website lead, but it said right in there that I think it was a relative that had some work done by us that really recommended us, So once again, like that's an easier lead, and the guys also, it's so funny because like so many people are used to calling and, me wanting me, and I have to explain like I can't, and then it's always cool when I actually just text Chris this today. He met with a job's about 3 times the size of a normal project that we do. And the guy said that it's got to go in front of a board, but he goes, I want to recommend that they pick you. And like Chris is like, anybody knows Chris is just such a kind, gentle guy that, you know, I love that success. Like, you know, what I really love is I literally had somebody come up to us the other day and was like, hey, you guys did a really good job on my roof. And I laughed. I didn't even know we'd even done the roof, you know, and I just had Cameron ask me a question. I said, Cameron, I don't know. I said, I just make sure the bills get paid around here, you know. But it's a lot of fun to see building a team, and it's a lot of fun to see you and Bobby Ann working together as marketing, and it's a lot of fun to see Nick and Chris and Cody or Cameron or Lonnie or Mark or whoever with the sales to send stuff back because, you know, I've worked for bigger roofing companies. The biggest problem I saw was where production and sales just hated each other guts.
Yeah.
And, you know, or sales would complain about marketing's leads sucked. Marketing would complain that the sales guys couldn't close anything. So like I've said that, like I will fire somebody that can't get along with other people. Like, you know, everybody do their job, you know, and you know, it's fun. And sometimes like I get on them because they're not sending enough video. So I go out in the field that day or the next day and I shoot a video and I send it to them guys. I'm like, here guys, here's the video that I committed to doing. Yep. You know, one thing that I want to get into and talk a little bit about is like, I've said from the get-go, personal growth. Like there's a saying out there, what happens if you train your team and they leave? Well, what's worse? Not training them and they stay around. Mm-hmm. So, you know, RoofCon, this will be your second one coming up. Yep. We've taken a team to a roofing conference practically since day one, even when it was just a couple of us, you know. So what is something that maybe last year that you got out of RoofCon, and it doesn't really have to be like business related, but, you know, John Maxwell, Tim Tebow was there. That Nick guy with no limbs.
Santa Anastaso, I think was his last name.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lot better than how I would pronounce it. So, like, I don't know, like, kind of talk about that because, like, I've said this, and I mean this, I want a leadership company that we just happen to do construction. Yeah. Like, I genuinely, like, want people, like, I want a strong team that I can turn things over and know that stuff's going to get done. And I had this conversation with the gentleman I was interviewing last night. I want a challenge. Conflict is a healthy thing. Not arguing, not yelling at each other, but actual conflict is good where it's like, hey, Bob, I think we should do this. I think we're wrong here, you know, right. But let's try it. Like, and I'm willing to try some stuff, you know, let's look at stuff. Like another thing is always come with a couple ideas. We can go this route. We can go this route, you know. So kind of talk a little bit about, you know, maybe some takeaways from RoofCon or takeaways just in general for, you know, we do the team retreat. Yeah. You've been part of 2 of them so far, right? Yep. You know, we've already got the one book for January, you know. So go ahead there for a minute.
Yeah. So especially with RoofCon, I mean, the easy answer is, you know, John Maxwell, you know, because leadership, everything that he talked with. But the combination of Nick Sananastaso, his talk, and John's, well, I say talk, you know, their keynotes that they did. Nick's was largely about, like, being the best you that you can be because you're the only you that can be you.
Wait 1 second. Let's set this tone for the audience. Nick Stanciano, whatever. He has no legs. Look him up. I hate to say this. I'm not trying to sound rude. He pretty much has one finger like coming out of one elbow, right?
No legs, no, just one arm, and look him up. It's
like, and he Nick pretty much says
Sananastaso. Spell that as best you can. I'm sure he'll come up. You'll find the right person when you see him.
I mean, he pretty much says quit being and complaining about shit because like that guy is making a difference, impacting thousands of lives, and like. He can't walk. Like, you know.
Most of the world would look at him and, you know, and call him handicapped. Right, you know, and would feel bad for him specifically, you know, just because of the way he looks. When in all reality, that man is in better condition than I think anybody that I have ever met in my entire life. And that's saying something because my brother-in-law is has done bodybuilding for a while since his daughter came along. And, you know, he's getting back into it.
Yep.
But like Nick, 100%, his whole thing is, you know, the brain power, the willpower. You are you, and you are the only person who can make you better. And like it goes to the training that you've had most of our team go through too, you know, with anything in life, any obstacles that you come up to, anything, that it feels like is stopping you from being who you want to be, there's no path over it, under it, around it that you can take. You have to go through whatever it is, because that experience is there in your life specifically to grow you, to prepare you, to strengthen you, to fill in the blank, whatever, for you to move you on in life. And like I said, I'm heavily involved with my church too, and I firmly believe that. Like, we are on a path set by God himself. Absolutely. For us. And if we try to change the path, all we're going to do is end up tripping, falling, we're going to end up hurting ourselves, because the path laid out for us is the best thing for us to be who we're meant to be, to be the best.
And sometimes, like, people say that, well, as a Christian, you shouldn't have troubles or, that. No, there's nothing. The Bible actually says the opposite. Like, you will have problems.
There will be trials and tribulations and,
yes. But you will, Jesus overcomes it. We know that,
right.
And that's another thing. Like, you kind of rolled into the Journey to Nobody training that several of our team members have completed, and I'll be really honest and really transparent. Like, you came back a total different person. Like, I mean, genuinely, like, that's why, like, Emily asked that one time, is Adam working? Because you just, and one thing is, like, what I really like about that training is, like, there are no accidents, and where you're at, it's a direct reflection of your life. Like,
of what's happening inside of you is what's happening outside.
And the worst part is, when me and Emily went through that, it's like the holes, no pun intended, in our lives are in the business. Like, your personal and your professional life are so closely knit. Yeah. You're going to have a bad day. You're going to have a bad week. Like, that happens. But like you said, like, if you have to deal with your crap, you got to push through it. You just got to go deal with it. You can't dance around with it. You can't go around it. And it's just, it's been cool. Just because one part of that training was, one thing I took away was don't sugarcoat it. And it's funny because we just had this conversation. I yelled, Adam.
I am such a sugarcoater.
And you were, and I was like, Adam, where you been? And you're like, I was at lunch. And Bobby Ann was in my office. And poor Bobby Ann, if I say her name, like, she's like, what's wrong? And then I just yell Adam's name. He's like, yeah, what's up? Like, what do you want? So it's like, I could want to chew you out. You just walk in there, yeah, whatever, So, yep. But, that's as a leader, that is the hardest thing, is to get every person, ticking. Like, the whole Journey to Nobody training, Cameron, he is really, like, that kid's on fire now. Like, some things have finally just clicked and worked through. I mean, he's called me a couple times, and he's like, man, like, there's this roof. These other two contractors said the roof is smoked with hail, and he goes, it's really not. But there's some siding damage. There's a gutter damage. He's like, what should I do? And I said, Cam, go be you. You got this. And I hung up.
Be honest with him. Yeah.
He went and he told him, and they both chose him to represent him with the insurance company. And I was like, Cam, dude, like, you got it. And then something really sweet was he went up against his old boss the other day head to head, and they chose him because the homeowner said that Cam educated him the most and knew the most about roofing over a guy that owns his own roofing company, And Cam's 20. He just turned 22. I mean, he's a young kid, and I forget that. Like, I'm getting old, So, but back to like, some of the training, some of the, we had, our team retreat, man, like, we had such a blast this year, technically, I guess. But, we had a fireside chat. There was some really deep stuff, really dark stuff that was discussed, that was opened up, and that's to have a team that you're comfortable. But I will go back and you opened up, and I'm not discussing that on this podcast. That doesn't need to be discussed. But like, the one big key to that, in my opinion, was when Emily and when Nick really opened up. Everybody expects me to get emotional. Everybody expects me, and that's fine. But like, when somebody that's a little more quiet, just whenever that opens up, Greg Groeschel, which he was at RoofCon a couple years ago. I'm butchering the quote now that I'm trying to pull it out of thin air.
It's always difficult.
Pretty much says that, you really connect with people about their weaknesses. Like I mean, we want to look at people for their success of their nice truck or their nice house or whatever, but you don't really have any kind of deep connection. You have more of, oh yeah, that's cool. Adam's got a nice sports car or whatever that looks like, So, but another thing that kind of brings up to me is a good friend of mine sent me over a sermon earlier this week, and they were talking. And I'm going to butcher the years and all that kind of stuff, but either 10 or 20 years ago, the average person had 5 to 6 quality friends, like legit quality friends that you could call and ask for a prayer, or you can call and be like, you know what, I'm having a bad day. Like, I've got some bad thoughts. Like, I just need a friend to talk to. And then now it's less than one person. And it's like we consume so much via screens and audio and stuff like that. And audio books and podcasts are great. There's nothing wrong with that. But just for them talking about as humans, as struggling, and that we just consume so much by the screens and not in person. That's a huge thing. Like, you talk about disc golf, you get out, that kind of things, and I'll say this, and I'm not getting controversial about the COVID stuff, but like, it was almost child abuse for them kids to have to wear masks because like they didn't have facial expressions, and that has a lot to do with growth and that kind of stuff, and also just being able to look people in the eyes and actually talk to them that a lot of kids seem to struggle with. So,
and I've got some friends who are like hard of hearing and whatnot too, and where like yes they can hear and
right.
They have whatever technology that they need that allows them to hear to an extent. Like the thing that I've heard from several of them is the hardest part about COVID was, especially for those that relied on like lip reading or watching facial expressions, like they had no idea what to do for about 2 years, because everybody's face was covered. Yep. They it was like, if they didn't hear it, sorry if I ignored you, I have no idea what you said, so I kind of agree with you. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I still got at least 2 of the shots. I don't remember how many of them I actually got. But like, yes, pandemic, yes, it happened, whatever.
Plandemic, it was planned. It wasn't a pandemic.
Well, we try not to get political around here, right, Bob?
Oh, I don't give a shit. I'll get political.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, like you hit it right on the nail right on the head with that too. Like, I think one of the biggest issues that we have seeing like our high schoolers, our junior hires, like working with that age group, like of kids within my church and all around, is anymore there's so much of a focus on the digital, the Zoom meeting, the videos, the TikToks, like our attention span has gone from what did they say in like 2015, the average average viewer retention on videos on YouTube was 3 to 5 minutes, something like that. And literally and I'm not directly blaming TikTok,
right,
but ever since short form content has become absolutely king with that, the average attention span, the average amount of time that anybody will just consume a piece of media anymore for no reason is between 20 and 30 seconds before they're done with it. They just want to flip off of it.
Well,
and even that's generous most of the time.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful tool for us in business, but I also still believe in old fashioned look people in the eyes, shake their hands, however that is, just because people want that human, that human interaction, and like I said, like that's why, we have to use social media to draw in the leads, but we're still sending out people. I've actually sold a couple roofs that I never met anybody until we done the roof, which was crazy to me. People got a price online and signed a contract and all that. And I understand the business of life too, but there's a lot there, but kind of as we wrap up, thank you for believing in our team. When, you've seen a lot of growth, you've seen some people come and go. One thing that I appreciate and respect is Adam's just, you're solid. You're there every day. I know that, you have faith, you have, some foundations, the values, like that's something that you hold near and dear. And that's what we want as a company, it's just, like I said, I've said this a couple times, but it means a lot. Like our kids are here all the freaking time. And it's just, it's funny because like sometimes we come in on Saturday and they're like, "Where's Adam at, Dad?" I'm like, "Today's Saturday. Adam's not working," But, I'll hear you say, "Goodbye, goodbye, Reagan. Goodbye, Riley." And, the kids are like, "Bye, Adam. Have a good night." And, like, that means a lot to me because they are here a lot. And I know they're young kids and they get annoying. They annoy the shit out of me and they're my kids sometimes, But it's why on the podcast, the door's locked right now so they can't come up to the front of there because there wasn't that many long ago. Rhett starts weed eating right outside the window here while we're doing a podcast, so that was pretty comical actually, but still, so just, your faith in us, I'll challenge you. I'll say, "Hey, Adam, we're going to do this. What do we need here? How are we going to do this?" And, very rarely, you never tell me we can't do it. Sometimes you tell me it's going to be a challenge and I said, "Just go get the shit done, Adam, we'll get it done." But so, I mean, just, and also like your involvement in the church, that's a quality, that's a trait of people. I just had this conversation with the gentleman we're interviewing, like, the generosity core value of ours, the compassion core value that we have, like, that's a huge part. Like I want them kind of people. And unfortunately we've brought some people in that didn't have the generosity bone. It showed. They didn't last. They didn't fit in, and it's not all about fitting in around here, but we do have a culture. And I know that's the buzzword culture, but I mean, genuinely, like we've attracted some really good talent, and, Emily and I are extremely intentional. We were just talking about RoofCon, like, there's not too many other companies that take their entire team, and we are, that's coming up here in November. Actually, we're going to take our kids this year. I got my mother-in-law convinced to go with us. So I just want them to kind of see that part. You've been to RoofCon. There's other kids running around. Most of them related to Hunter. But,
I was going to say, and this year, Red actually, already knows Turner anyway.
Right,
too,
yeah. And I mean, my family knows their family. So that'll be fun. But it'll also be fun for me to take for my mother-in-law to see how we pour into our team, and just our kids to interact, in that, kind of thing. So I'll let you kind of wrap up, kind of like, I'll just let you wrap up. However, whatever you like about the job, whatever you're looking forward to the most, and that kind of stuff.
Well, I know you've heard me tell this story before too, but I mean, I promise this won't go too long, but you know how I am. So the main thought that I've really had with everything, like we talked about the marketing and sales relationship, up to really in my brain, marketing is the awareness for, the people around us, for the people in our service area. We have to make sure that the people in our area know of us, at least, know a little bit about us, have seen us before. I've had multiple people tell us it takes 5 touches one way or another, before somebody makes a buying decision. I mean, go on to Amazon, how many different items do you look at before you actually buy one? Whereas sales is the trust builder, after the people have already been exposed to us, have the awareness of us, sales then go in, and build that, and show people why, we're the one to choose. And if I go all the way back to the beginning, like I said, you've heard this story, but I still think it's one of the coolest things about all this. When COVID all started, I initially actually had a job offer and an interview and I did everything up to like actually orientation, like everything literally up to actually starting a job at, I'm just going to say, one of the news stations in Indianapolis. I was going to be a camera operator, basically get in, do grunt work, start moving up through and do in major news in Indianapolis. And because of the pandemic, because everything shut down, literally it was 2 days after I did my orientation, my my tour, through the station. Because of COVID, because of the pandemic, everything shut down 2 days later. I was put on hold. I was told, as soon as we're able to, we'll let you know, we'll give you a start date. Come to find out, so that was October. Yeah, it was August, September, October, sometime of that 2020 then. Yeah, right when it all started. Come to find out, in about January of that year, I reached out, just because I still hadn't heard anything. And I was like, hey, is there any sort of update on my situation, with all this? And I got an email back from their head of HR that said, Adam, I'm so sorry no one's told you. The manager who hired you, who went through the process with you, is no longer with us. So unfortunately, your application, your process has been voided. And if you're still interested, unfortunately, we don't have any positions open right now, but we'd love for you to apply again in the future. And so that caused me to start looking, otherwise. And I found a job, and I held a job out at Indiana Grand running a camera, with all that stuff for a while. And that was great. And I still love those people. I still go back and, and say hi to them, every now and again, because great people,
Right.
You don't work a job, you work with people.
Right, absolutely.
And I would still go back, and help them too, if the time is right. Obviously I'm not going to cut a weekday and say, hey, Bob, I'm going to go work for somebody else for a day. But, I got by for a while. And then when I saw, I think you had shared it on Facebook, or one way or another through the grapevine, I heard that you and Emily were looking for somebody just to come in and help, with day to day. And I said, well, worst case, they tell me no. So I applied, and long story short, that's why we're here. That's why I'm here. Did it seem correct to me? Was it the right thing, the thing that was supposed to happen to me in my life? Hell no.
Right.
Like, if I rewind back to the early 2020, I would not have told you that I would be in, roofing.
Right.
Roofing and construction for 2 years. Here we are.
Right. Right.
So it's always, there's a higher power, there's a greater plan, there's a greater purpose, and I don't always understand mine. You don't have to understand yours. And I'm living proof to sit here and say, if it seems like it's all terrible and none of it's going to plan, just wait. Give it a little bit. I promise it gets better.
All right. I appreciate you, Adam. Thank you guys for tuning in. And now you guys know more about the man behind the mirror, or man behind the camera. So
there are plenty of mirrors in that camera.
Thanks for watching this episode.